Hey, what is up YouTube? This is Merman Master coming at you guys from the Teen Time Riders YouTube channel, and for the first time in this channel's history, we are going to be doing a Yusei Fudo character deck profile. Now, I've been working on this deck for quite a while, and I decided to build it in anticipation of the brand new support coming out in Duelist Nexus, but I was also able to pick up a copy of this guy right here, the Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon from Maze of Memories. Now, you might be looking and you might be asking, like, why is this extra deck so massive? Well, I don't really believe in the limits to an extra deck when it comes to character deck dueling, because I think that, there's a lot of cards that you never, ever run in an actual deck. And so this gives us the opportunity to kind of have like a ton of different options to go into. But, if you do want to cut that down to 15, of course, that's your choice. Happy to discuss with you guys in the comments. But with all of that out of the way, let's get into the profile. Starting things out right now, wouldn't be a Yusei deck without 3 copies of Junk Synchron. Now, canonically, he always ran 1, but the reason we got 3 in here is because it is one of the best cards in your entire deck, and there's so many cards that interact with it. So I started at 1, bumped it up to 2, and finally settled on 3. I don't think you can have any less than that. Speaking of monsters that go well with Junk Synchron, we've got Doppel Warrior. When it's used as a synchro, special summon something from the grave, you special summon this from your hand, and then make some more tokens. And non-tuner tokens are a big deal in this deck because you're summoning a ton of small monsters and especially a ton of tuners. 2 copies of Quillbolt Hedgehog. When a tuner's on the field, you special summon this guy from the graveyard. Really, really good. 1 copy of Tuning Wear. Now, a lot of main modern decks don't really run this card, but it's just such a cool card. And it has an effect that when it's used for Synchro Summon, similar to Formula Synchron, when it's summoned, you draw a card. And so you can just keep looping this as many times as possible. And I've drawn sometimes up to 3 to 4 cards off of this card's effect in a single turn. 1 copy of Synchron Carrier, one of the only non-tuner Synchrons. You can special summon this off of the field spell. Gives you an extra normal summon of a Junk Synchron or another Synchron for that turn. Now, one of the best cards in the deck, works really well, is 3 copies of Junk Converter. This is basically tailor-made to work with your Junk Synchron. Send it in a tuner from your hand to the grave, and of course a lot of tuners trigger in your grave, and grab Junk Synchron or any one of your other Synchron monsters from your deck to your hand. We'll also special summon a tuner monster from your graveyard in defense position if it is used as a synchro material monster. So if you're going for Junk Warrior and you have Quillbolt Hedgehog or something like that in your graveyard, this effect will chain to the summon of Warrior, special summon Quillbolt Hedgehog, and then your Warrior's effect will trigger and have it gain itself 800 attack power. Now, this is going to be a controversial choice, but it's 3 Quick Draw Synchron. This card can be used for very few monsters, but the main thing that you use it for is all of your warrior monsters that have a specific Synchron as a tuner. So just a super cool card, and we use it for Turbo Warrior, we use it for Drill Warrior, we use it even for Road Warrior as well, since we're not running the Road Synchron. Next card we've got in here is a single copy of Synchron Explorer. Might bump this up to 2. We'll see whether or not I decide to do it, but just another way to special summon more Synchron monsters from your graveyard and get a little bit more advantage going. 1 copy of Jet Synchron. This was banned and has been limited, of course. Really, really good card. Allows you to search any of your Synchrons, any of your junk stuff, so you can grab your Junk Converter or other things from your deck to your hand. Turbo Synchron, pretty self-explanatory. Unknown Synchron, the Cyber Dragon of Synchron monsters. And then, of course, right here, one of the cards that you can grab off of your Synchron, a single copy of Junk Servant. Now, this card is super cool because it special summons itself anytime you control a junk monster. You got more junk monsters than just your Junk Synchron in here. You've got, you have this guy right here, your Junk Converter. Any one of your Junk Synchro monsters that you have in the extra deck, you can special summon Servant, and it's a nice level 4 non-tuner monster that just is very easy to get out. 1 copy of Turbo Booster. This was the special card that was run by Yusei from his friend, and basically just this card is really amazing because unlike many other cards, it doesn't have to be on the field for it to gain its effect to pop a card, and you can also special summon this if you normal summon for the turn. So it's just so good. Just like, you know, special summon and pop of a monster. Speaking of special summon, another great level 1 here we've got is Boost Warrior, another non-tuner special summon. Now, moving into probably one of my favorites normal summons in the deck, guys, is this guy right here. This is 2 copies of Cosmic Compass. Now, what this does is that when it's normal summon, and special summon a number of level 1 compass tokens equal to the number of monsters your opponent controls to the turn, and it's up to that number. And so you've got like lots of monsters in there, like, you know, if you have a quick draw and then your opponent's got like 2 or 3 monsters, you normal summon the Cosmic Compass, special summons 2 tokens, and then when you synchro summon the quick draw, you get 3 pops, and it's just really good. So I highly recommend Cosmic Compass for any Yusei character deck. Next, we've got 1 copy of Bright Star Dragon, just a nice beater, level 4 monster, and can boost up the power of, boost up the level of a monster you control by 2. And then for our final non-tuner kind of package here is 2 copies of Zero Gardener. Think of this kind of like a monster form of Wabaku, just sends itself to the grave and kind of saves you for a turn. So kind of cool card, but you know, you guys can choose to take it out. It's not by any means like a required card. Rounding out the last of our monsters, we've got our Stardust package. So we've got 2 copies of Stardust Synchron, 1 copy of Stardust Trail, and 1 copy of Converging Wills Dragon for your Majestic Dragon plays. So really cool cards in this deck. That's going to round out our monsters. Moving on to the spells, we have a good number of spells in the deck. Starting first out, we've got 3 copies of Tuning. Now, I was using Tuning with the single copy here of Synchro Overtake, and I think this is a good number to have it at right now, because at first I used to think it was 3 and 3, but the Tuning allows you to grab the Synchro, the Quick Draw Synchron, while Synchron Overtake can grab you any one of your named Synchron tuners and special summon them to the field, or can grab you a Stardust Dragon from your graveyard, which is really nice. But, you know, I think this is a perfect number to have this at, because this can grab more stuff, and then we'll also mill, and sometimes the mills are really good off of that. But this is basically your search engine power in this deck. Next, speaking of which, we've got Stardust Illumination in here. Stardust Illumination allows you to send any monster with Stardust in its name from your deck to the graveyard, and both your Synchron and Trail can trigger in the graveyard. So just really great. And then also you can banish this to increase or reduce the level of a Stardust you control by 1. One of my favorite cards in this deck is a single copy of Arrive in Light. You don't need any more than this because you can pretty much search it. So very cool card. Anytime a synchro monster is special summoned, not just synchro summoned, but special summoned, you can either draw, once per turn, you can draw a card, and you can also special summon a tuner from your hand. And so it's just super good. Even works on your opponent's synchros as well. So you can just have this on the field, and if it's on the field for more than 1 turn, it is gaining you a ton of value. So very cool card. We've got Starlight Junction in here. This card is in here, allows you to grab any Synchron from your deck if you tribute any tuner. So very nice like utility card. 1 copy of Synchro Chase, brand new kind of card that allows you to grab any one of the synchro materials that you use. So great if you're using, you know, you do your junk speeder play and then you go for Stardust Dragon, then you can, if this is on the field, you special summon back the junk speeder, and you can then synchro with any of the other tuners you have out into either like Satellite Synchro or, you know, Turbo, whatever you have out. You can basically use Synchro Chase to just kind of extend your plays. 1 copy of Limit Overdrive. This card is super cool because you'll often have synchro tuners and non-synchro tuners, and then this just allows you to go straight into Quasar Dragon without having to meet the summoning requirements. So very cool. 1 copy of Miracle Synchro Fusion. You know, just takes very little to add it since we have no limit to the extra deck, and we can run Dragon Knight Draco Akist, which is really cool. And once the new support comes out, you'll have a lot more stuff that you can do with that Miracle Synchro Fusion. Final spell we've got in here is Scrap Fist. Very cool card as well. just works together with your Junk Warrior, who's very, very easy to summon in this deck. So if you've got Scrap Fist, you know, go for your Junk Warrior play and activate this card. So that's going to do it for our spells. Traps are up next, and we have a good number of them because Yusei was a big fan of traps. A lot of them are self-explanatory though. We've got Starlight Road, we've got Scrap Iron Scarecrow, pretty much classic cards. For Stardust cards here, we've got Stardust Flash, basically special summons any Stardust monster, not just the Synchros, from your graveyard. One copy of Stardust Mirage, anything that's destroyed while a level 8 dragon is on the field, you just get to special summon them all back. Graceful Revival, a Yusei classic, special summons back a level 2 or lower monster, great for grabbing back non-tuners and for getting extra advantage, for instance, out of something like Tuning Wear or out of your Doppel Warrior. One copy of Scrap Iron Statue. Take it or leave it. This card doesn't come up all that much, but whenever there's field spells, you don't really want to have this card here. You can just pop your opponent's field spells before they can get their plays off. So really, really good card. Spirit Force. This is basically just protects your life points, and then when it happens, you just basically says grab Junk Synchron from your graveyard back into your hand, which is super cool. And the best part is that it can still protect your life points even if you don't have a Junk Synchron in there. It's just the Junk Synchron provides kind of a little bit of extra value. And the final card we've got in here is the Battle Destruction Trap called Miracle's Wake. Allows you to special summon back a monster destroyed by battle at any point. And yeah, so that's it for the main deck. Moving on to our extra deck. And as we said, this is quite a big extra deck. The first card we're starting out right here is the brand new Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. This card allows you to do is you can send this card to the graveyard with a Stardust and then special summon Stardust Dragon. Stardust Dragon is treated as a synchro material, as if it was synchro summon, which means you can revive it back with other cards. You can also grab a tuner from your graveyard and then immediately after synchro summon. So it's just really, really good value. And there's lots of stuff that triggers when Stardust tributes itself or special summons itself back to the board, especially stuff that's coming out. So this is going to be a huge advantage engine for this deck for a long time to come. Of course, you can't have this deck without Stardust Dragon. One of the classic cards that you have to run in this deck. You know, it's the Yusei Classic. And then, of course, you know, since we're running Yusei throughout his entire history, we're gonna have all of his Signer Dragon friends. We've got Red Dragon Archfiend, Blackwing Dragon, Ancient Fairy Dragon, and Black Rose Dragon. Shout out to my buddy Mauricio for giving me this one. So that's going to do it for our Signer Synchros. Moving on to some of the other cards we've got in the deck. We have here one copy of Stardust Spark Dragon, pretty much classic like manga version of Yusei Stardust. And then we have, if we have Stardust Spark, we've got to have Stardust Chronicle, the upgraded manga version of that card. Very, very cool card. For Yusei's other upgraded forms, we've got the classic here. We've got one copy of Majestic Star Dragon. Now this card is perfect with Arrive in Light because Arrive in Light will protect it, and this card has like a blanket negate effect that, you know, your opponent activates some kind of effect, you negate, and you destroy everything on their field. It's just so, so good. And then if this card is sent back to the extra deck, you know, summon back the Stardust. But with all of your Stardust Synchron and Stardust Trail plays and your Majestic play, like it's so, so easy to get this card out of your deck. You don't even need to have the Stardust Xiaolong in here to do that. It was just really, really good. Of course, we have Majestic, we've got to have Shooting Star himself. Very easy to summon in this deck as well. You can go with him, either Excel Synchron or Formula Synchron. It's just an amazing card. Just can end games, has the OTK potential, and negating attacks is underrated, guys. You know, you can actually have a lot of advantage. Of course, as we mentioned, we have the Shooting Star Dragon. Here next is Shooting Quasar Dragon, a classic Yusei monster. Still need to pick up the Cosmic Blazer, the Seafer Divine, and of course the brand new Cosmic Blazar Dragon coming out in, or is it Shooting, whatever is it, Cosmic Quasar Dragon, I think is the one that's coming out in the next set. So I'm gonna be looking forward to picking those guys up, but you know, this guy is a classic right here. Of course, as I mentioned, guys, since we're running that Miracle Synchro Fusion, we've got the Dragon Knight Draco Equiste. a classic Yusei card. You didn't use it much, but it's just so cool to have in this deck, to be able to just banish things from the graveyard and to just get that effect off. Now moving on to some of our other Synchro cards here, guys. We've got 2 copies of our Formula Synchron for our Formula Synchron plays, 2 copies of Excel Synchron. We've got 1 Martial Metal Marcher, nice level 3 option, and finally Armory Arm for our kind of bridge synchro monsters, tuner synchros, as you will. Now this one of the best cards in the deck is Junk Speeder. Just special summons all 5 of your tuners. You're going to be going into this guy quite a lot, guys. But you just special summon all your tuners back from the graveyard, and it's just gain a ton of value off of this card. A lot of people choose to run this thing in, you know, Jack Atlas versions of the deck because you can go into the big level 12 guys using him. And it's almost better to use that than it is to use him in the Yusei deck, but this is a character deck. Next card, because we have Junk Speeder, we've got to have Junk Warrior. Got this miscut Junk Warrior years ago, and really enjoy the card. And it's fun boosting this guy up to massive amounts of attack. So you can just summon a whole bunch of low-level monsters to the field, and then when he hits the board, he just gains all their attack power, and it's really good. And of course, we got the whole Junk package here. So we've got Junk Berserker. I don't currently own a copy of Junk Archer right now. It's one of the few I didn't pick up, but that's okay. Junk Destroyer. So, and then this guy is, this card over here, you know, is kind of decided to add it in just for a lark because it's great with the Quick Draw Synchron, is Chevalier de Fleur. What this card does is just basically allows you to gain the effect to not worry about one of your opponent's spell or traps. So basically think 6 Samurai Shien, and then you just come in for damage, and it's a super good card to go with Quick Draw and any level 3 monster. So just keep that as an eye out for some of the monsters that you go for from there. Now getting on to the piece to resistance here, guys. This is the warrior stuff. We've got 2 copies of Stardust Warrior. Now this card is great because think of it kind of a more generic version of, the great thing about Stardust Warrior is that it's a much more generic and easy to go in version of Shooting Star or Stardust Chronicle or any one of these monsters. Just requires 1 Synchro non-tuner and 1 Synchro tuner. But Stardust Warrior can allow you once per turn to tribute itself, and then it can negate the summon of a monster that your opponent does, negate the special summon of one of your opponent's monsters. And then my personal favorite effect is that if this card is sent to the grave by your opponent's card effect or by battle, you can activate its effect to allow you to special summon any warrior synchro monster from your extra deck that is, I believe it's level 8 or lower warrior synchro monsters from your extra deck, and that monster summon is treated as a synchro summon. So now it's time to go over some of the warrior synchros that you can bring out with it. First guy up here, you've got 2 copies of Road Warrior. Now, this guy's very underrated and a key part of the Shooting Quasar deck that ravaged the format back in like 2011. Basically what this card does is once per turn, you're allowed to special summon any level 2 or lower warrior or machine type monster from your deck. And you'd be surprised just how many things you can grab with this card. It's just so good. Make this with Quick Draw and any other 2 monsters. And so I've specifically created this deck to allow for as easy access to Road Warrior as possible, of course, without the existence of Level Eater, which has unfortunately been banned. Next card out we have here is Jet Warrior. This is another card that's very tough to make, but you can also bring this out with your Road Warrior as well, or you can also bring this out with your monster as well. Just bounces a card when it's summoned, and then you can special summon it back from your graveyard if you've got a level 2 in there. Of course, we've got Stardust Assault Warrior. I'm missing a copy of Stardust Charge Warrior, but you should be running that as well. Just a nice generic option to go for. And if it's the only monster you control, you special summon a junk monster in defense position. Next, we've got a classic Turbo Warrior. You'll be going into this quite a lot. Very, very good card to have. And with Turbo Warrior, we've got his other level 6 counterpart, the Drill Warrior. Two fantastic fan favorite monsters that you're going to be going through. So those two are right there. And now for some of Yusei's Manga Warriors, which you won't really summon all that often, but just kind of cool to have for a lark. And so if you're gonna make cuts in this deck to try to get it down to 15, of course, you know, cut a lot of the duplicate things, but these guys will be pretty easy cuts. We've got 1 copy of 7 Swords Warrior, 1 copy of Lightning Warrior, 1 copy of Gravity Warrior, and 1 copy of Catapult Warrior. And that is going to do it for the Yusei Fudo character deck. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to rate, comment, subscribe to the Team Time Riders YouTube channel. And this has been the Mermail Master signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.